It's the Invisible Ghoul and
Professor Rodriguez.
And tonight we're reviewing Creepshow 1 and 2.
And we're going to talk a little bit about the series. So, Creepshow, right? The 1982 classic, inspired by...
EC Comics.
Yeah, it was inspired by all of the old comics by EC. Tales from the Crypt, The Vault of Horror, The Haunt of Fear. Stories by...
Stephen King.
Stephen King wrote the stories for this, and the film itself was directed by...
George Romero.
And what did George Romero direct?
Night of the Living Dead.
And...
Dawn of the Dead.
And...
Day of the Dead.
And a ton of other awesome movies. And we have some really great makeup effects in this film by...
Tom Savini.
The great Tom Savini. So, really...
That did makeup for...
Dawn of the Dead, Friday the 13th, Part 1 and Part 4, and a myriad of other films. And is a very nice guy, I have to say. Haven't met Tom Savini, very nice guy. So,
I haven't.
Not yet, but you will someday. So, the neat thing about Creepshow is it is an anthology. It's 5 different stories that span the course of the movie, right? And those stories include Father's Day. What was Father's Day about?
It was about, flashback. It was Father's Day, and the daughter of the man was making a cake, and the man was chanting, "Where's my cake?
Where's my cake?"
And then she kind of went a little cuckoo, and she took a marble ash plate and bonked him in the head and cracked his skull.
Mm-hmm.
And then he haunted her.
He did.
She went to his grave, and then at night, grabbed her and killed her.
He did. And he also killed the rest of her family, to include Ed Harris in one of his earlier roles. He was in a number of George Romero films, Night Riders, and he was also in this before he became truly famous. And he puts on some of the worst dancing you will ever see put on film. It's scarier than the rest of the movie, just saying. So then we also have, after that...
Okay, it might not be worse than mine. I gotta say, I'm a terrible name.
Oh, well, I don't think so. Well, I think you're awesome. But then we have The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. Now, who starred in that one?
Stephen King.
Stephen King himself, the master of horror, played Jordy Verrill. Now, what was that one about, Ghoul?
It was about, so a meteor, not quite meteor, came down to his house. He saw it. He imagined that he takes it to the high school scientist, and he gets $200.
And then what happened after that?
After that, it breaks in half. Well, before that, he touched it.
Oh, that was important. He touched it, right? And then what happened?
He got blisters.
He got blisters on his fingers. And then what happened?
He imagined, since it cracked, that when he goes there, he ain't getting that $200.
He ain't getting that $200. Nope.
And
Jordy Verrill, you lunkhead.
And then he grabs a bucket, and then he puts it in there. He goes back in his house, he sees the blisters, then he imagines. He goes to the school doctor, and he's like, we're going to have to cut off these fingers.
Because what was happening to his fingers at that point?
They were getting grassy.
They were getting grassy. Everything around Jordy Verrill's house turns grassy. It starts spreading everywhere.
And then he turns into a plant.
He did turn into a plant.
He tried to do a bath. It worked to not itch it. The next morning, he's in the corner, goes in the closet, grabs a shotgun.
It was a little disturbing there at the end, huh?
At least it was only a plant.
At least it was only a plant. So then, our third story is, it was about the tide, right? And in that one, Leslie Nielsen, of all people, and Ted Danson, and Galen Ross, who was also in Dawn of the Dead, it was great to see her in something else, are part of a lover's triangle where Leslie Nielsen plays the bad guy. Now, you don't know Leslie Nielsen yet, buddy, but he's most famous for being in a bunch of comedies. But did he play a bad guy in this or what? He was pretty bad, right? Great story, great makeup effects. Then we get to the fourth story, which was The Crate. What was The Crate about?
The Crate was... sorry about that. The Crate was about... So the manager, he has one last quarter for a Coke machine. It rolls into the grate. Then he calls, you say.
Okay, so the janitor finds this crate in the bottom of the university from an Arctic expedition from 1834. And he calls the professor to open it up, and what's inside that crate? A monster, which eats humans. It was actually Tom Savini's first true creature effect he had ever done. He talks about this on In Search of Darkness 2, that this was the first time he learned how to do something like this.
Made out of an animatronic.
Yep, it was great animatronic and puppets combined. Awesome. And I love this story. This is my favorite of the stories in Creepshow. You have Hal Holbrook, Adrienne Barbeau, both who were so great in John Carpenter's The Fog. Just a great story, great dark humor. Everything about it is just awesome. And then what was our fifth story, the last story in Creepshow 1? What was it about? It was the roaches, right? The story's called They're Creeping Up on You.
There's a man that has cockroach phobia.
He is afraid of germs. He's a germaphobe. He's afraid of bugs. And what are them bugs doing?
They're infesting his house.
They infest his apartment. E.G. Marshall plays this guy who's really not a nice guy. And those bugs start infesting. What do they do at the end? Spoiler alert.
They kill him.
They rip through his body and some really neat gory effects at the end there.
I agree with you.
Yep. Now, the one thing we didn't talk about yet with Creepshow 1 was the wraparound story. Creepshows were great in that EC Comics vein of having an opening story and an end story. So there's an opening with Billy and his dad throws away his comic of Creepshow.
And slaps him.
And slapped him. We were not big fans of that.
He's a terrible dad.
He's a terrible dad. Thank you.
I should whack him.
Yeah, he deserves a whacking. And then the creep character himself shows up. Well, what happens now? Billy's dad was played by the great Tom Atkins, Dr. Dan, and the detective from Night of the Creeps, who we love in everything he's ever been in. Big shout out to Tom Atkins. We love you. We absolutely love you in everything you've ever been in.
Speaking of Night of the Creeps.
Yep, and you were able to play a really good bad guy in this. Now, what happens to Billy's dad at the end?
Well,
Okay, well, Billy ordered a voodoo doll from the Creepshow comic, and he uses it to take his dark revenge on his evil, abusive father, which was some just retribution. So, that was our review of Creepshow. Now, Ghoul, what was your favorite story in Creepshow 1 out of those 5?
That's actually really hard.
It is a tough question, isn't it?
I'm thinking the crate.
The crate? That's also my favorite, so I give you kudos on that. So then, we watched Creepshow 2 from 1987, a follow-up to the original. Now, Creepshow 1 was a moderate success. Anthology horror films traditionally don't do very well at the box office. Something about the narrative structure of anthologies, I think, just applies better to television than to in-theater films. But Creepshow 2 did get made. It was not directed by George Romero. It was directed by Michael Gornick. But the stories were still by Stephen King, and the screenplay was still by George Romero. So we have 3 stories in Creepshow 2, which came out in 1987. What was the first story?
The first story was Woodhead.
Old Chief Woodhead, starring George Kennedy and Dorothy Lamour. What'd you think of that one? What was that one about?
Well, it was about 3 people that killed the owner of the store and they robbed him.
Yeah.
He takes a picture in a photo booth. He thinks he's going to Hollywood. And then he shoots old Chief Woodhead. After that, he goes to all 3 of their houses. All of them.
Yeah.
First fat stuff, then rich boy, then the final one. It took him 9 years to grow his hair. He scalped him.
Scalped him. So this is a great old school revenge story. George Kennedy plays the owner of the store. Dorothy Lamour is his wife. These 3 street thugs come in and take it. What's that? Yeah. And outside of the store was an old wooden Indian chief that was sometimes present in the day, and he comes to life and he takes revenge for the owner of the store.
Yep.
Nice little story there. So what was the second story in Creepshow 2?
The second story was Raft.
The Raft. What was the Raft about?
The Raft was about 4 teenage kids. 2 girls. to the lake swimming. There's a sign, but it's overgrown. It says, no swimming. Spoil it. They start swimming in it. They find a monster. They immediately swim to the raft. Then, one of them smokes a cigarette. She's done. She puts it in the monster. The monster grabs her. Then she gets pulled in. Then the second one. The cuckoo boy. Dumb one.
I like your descriptions of this, by the way.
Too
Keep
much
it going.
guns.
Keep it going.
He gets caught from it. The professor said this happened. He said that not even I'm flexible enough to that. Prove it.
So can I give a little context here?
Yeah, sure.
You're doing it great. I like your description. But for those who haven't seen it, so the 4 kids swim out to this raft in the lake, and this tar monster, this blob within the water, starts attacking them as they're getting in.
Which is actually made out of trash bags and oil.
Yep,
so
very
to make it less scary for you if you like scariness.
Very good, simple effect. Kills the first girl, and then the jock guy, he gets sucked through the raft.
The dummy one.
The dummy
Too
one.
much brawn.
Too much brawn. And what happens to his leg as he gets sucked down?
Whoop.
Yep, I did not think that the ghoul was flexible enough to get his leg up to his head. I was wrong. So, great story. The raft itself is probably the strongest story of the 3, the creepiest, wouldn't you say? Yeah. All right, and then what is the third story?
Hitchhiker.
The Hitchhiker, in
So
which
a girl is driving home from a boy's house that she didn't marry. She's cheating. And then she gets in the car. She runs over him. She hits him. She immediately runs. Then they find him. The body starts haunting her. And then he walks up to the car, gets on it. He says, "Thanks for the ride, lady." And he keeps haunting her until she gets home. She's home.
much like all the old EC comics, Creepshow always has a strong and slightly sick and twisted sense of justice. When people do wrong things, they get punished in the Creepshow universe, don't they? So of Creepshow 2,
Big time.
what was your favorite story out of Creepshow 2?
The Raft.
The Raft, which is also my favorite. I think it's the best story. Hitchhiker's pretty good.
Me and him have the same brain.
We do have a very similar
Except
brain.
he's smarter.
Slightly.
I'm younger.
Slightly. So,
And I'm more bad.
after watching both Creepshow and Creepshow 2, lately I've been delving into the Creepshow television show, which is on Shudder. And I have to say, huge fan so far.
There also is a 7-day free trial.
There is a 7-day free trial for Shudder. Can't say thank you for throwing that advertisement in there. Maybe Shudder will be happy about we said that. But tell you what, folks, Shudder is the place to be. Between Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, the number of older flicks that they throw on there you can't see in other places.
They've got
Creepshow,
8-legged freaks.
it is great.
My personal favorite.
Yep. But Creepshow, Greg Nicotero produced Creepshow, brought this back. Greg Nicotero, of course, the actor, the one zombie or one soldier from Dawn of the Dead. Nothing else that he's known for. Oh, wait, he's also known for being an incredible makeup effects artist who founded KMB Effects and has done makeup effects for so many films throughout the last almost 30 years now.
Is this turning into 8-legged freaks review?
No, not quite. But Greg Nicotero had a big hand in bringing Creepshow back, and I'm thankful he did. We've watched a couple episodes together. Ghoul's a big fan. I'm
My
a big
favorite
fan.
is the 2 we watched today.
Today we watched one. I can't remember the titles. That's the sad part. But we'll tell you all, folks. Get Shudder. Try the 7-day free trial.
See if you like it. If you don't,
just cancel.
never buy it
But
again.
definitely watch Creepshow. And for those of us old school folks who used to watch Joe Bob Briggs on Monster Vision,
I don't.
he wasn't.
Though he does have a bearded dragon.
He does have a bearded dragon, just like the Ghoul. Give Joe Bob's Last Drive-In a try. Great things on Shudder. So,
Give my personal favorite a try.
indeed. So, between Creepshow 1, Creepshow 2,
In the series.
and Creepshow the series, lots of great gallows humor
And gory.
and gory action and horror. that's slightly a little bit more intense than most of the kids will be ready for.
So if you're watching it with your kid, make sure to on some of the gory parts.
Cover those eyes on the gory parts. And there's some adult themes in there.
I don't want anybody else in this world to have some bad nightmares.
No. As much as, we like horror, we know that not all kids are ready for that kind of stuff. So make sure that your family is ready for it before you do it. But I had a ball. So one thing that the Ghoul really likes is he likes the character of the Creep, captured in these Funko Pops. We also have one of our Stephen King Pops back here. But, the Creep serves as kind of not quite the Crypt Keeper from Tales of the Crypt. He doesn't tell jokes or things like that, but he's always in the background of all the stories in Creepshow, whether it's the films or the series. And you like the Creep, right?
Yeah.
See, I personally, when the Creep was here before, I couldn't really look him in the eye. He's a creep. He's a weirdo. He doesn't belong here. Yeah, you don't quite get that reference. You're too young for it, but some of you older folks might. Hey, folks.
But he's wrong!
Yeah. But, hey, thanks for watching. Check out our other video that's getting posted tonight, which features the Ballad of Creepshow, our new song. Our song, kind of in the vein of our the Requiem for the Alien vs. Predator. Some shades of Tommy Two-Tone in that song. We hope y'all like it. Some big news. We're going to be heading to Living Dead Weekend in Monroeville, Pennsylvania at the Monroeville Mall, July 4th weekend.
Where they made Dawn of the Dead.
Yes, and there's going to be a reunion of some of the cast from Day of the Dead and Return of the Living Dead. I'm super psyched. Ghouls...
I'm psyched.
Excited. This is going to be his first convention. So we're going to be there. We're going to be in costume. If you see us, come out and say hello. In the meantime, hit like. Hit subscribe. I know that we go a while.
And ring that bell so you get notified every time we upload a video.
Boom, boom. I know we're a long time between videos. It's because we try to make sure that we're actually doing things organically.
And we've had vacation a lot.
We've been on vacation, but we like to just watch movies when we're in the mood for it. And then when the episode happens or the song happens, it happens. So we appreciate your patience in between our videos. Take care of yourselves. Have a great summer.
Hope you don't get COVID.
Hope you don't get COVID. And we'll see you next time, folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Creepshow.